Hello, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to it's been a long time since the last two Matts, one Steve. I'm one of the Matts. Joining me in Memphis is the other Matt.
Also known as Ronan.
And Ronan, yes. And Steve.
Yeah, it's been a long time because no bit of entertainment of any cultural relevance has happened since we last met. Wink, wink.
Yes, and Matt got tired of trying to get us to watch Star Wars, so he started a different Star Wars.
Hey, you guys could have been part of the cultural relevance had you only watched Andor. But
what cultural relevance? It shows bombing.
Now, we are coming off of a high, ladies and gentlemen. We did a warm-up match before we were about to start talking about this, and Steve just led us to an epic victory. And you could probably see that on.
Steve led himself to the reboot fan, and then you guys did the rest of the work. Yes.
So tonight, we're going to talk a little bit about Black Panther. And then, Steve, you had an interesting... because spoiler alert, there's not a whole lot to talk about with the movie Black Panther, but Steve, you had a pretty interesting idea for a discussion topic. What do you want to talk about this evening?
I think we're going to talk about, is it okay for a movie, a game, a show, pretty much any source of entertainment, is it okay for it to just be okay, just be average, acceptable, whatever you want to call it? With so much entertainment out there, when you find something that's just kind of there was almost guaranteed something better that you could have spent your time on. So should we kind of recalibrate what we consider an okay movie versus a bad movie? Yeah.
And I think that's a really interesting topic to discuss, and hopefully we have some insightful knowledge, because that's what the three people who listen to the show come for: insightful knowledge on this sort of thing. But before we get there,
fair question.
Yeah. Before we get there, let's talk about Black Panther for a few minutes, because there's not much longer that we need to talk about it.
Wakanda
so obviously,
forever,
obviously, Black Panther, the sequel to, or this is called Wakanda Forever, the sequel to the original Black Panther, which made like $1 billion, was sort of a cultural phenomenon. Chadwick Boseman was Black Panther, and he sadly passed away. And I think there was a big curiosity with this movie as to what were they going to do, sort of how were they going to deal with the fact that Chadwick Boseman passed away in real life, and would the sequel sort of live up to? I would say that the first one is beloved by a lot of people.
Definitely.
People love the first Black Panther. It's one of my favorite Marvel movies, to be honest. I really like Killmonger, the villain.
Yeah, I would say objectively, the two top-tier best Marvel movies that don't rely on spectacle to get them over, the two best would be Captain America and the Winter Soldier and Black Panther. I would say those two are probably objectively the two best Marvel movies. What would you guys say to that?
God, yeah, I agreed. It's up there. I will throw. There's a hell of a lot of spectacle, but I will throw Guardians of the Galaxy 2 in as one of my favorites.
Guardians 2 is my personal favorite, but objectively speaking, just in terms of movie versus piece of entertainment, the fun schlock. Yeah, I was like
Purple Assault Rifle.
So, needless to say, there were a lot of expectations going into this. Namor is the villain. That was announced that Namor the Submariner was going to be playing the antagonist in this film, so that was another curiosity factor. We both sort of already established one of my questions was going to be what did we both think of or what all of us think of the original Black Panther, but we all liked it. We all really liked it and considered it a top tier. So, Ronan, how excited were you going into this? Did you have a lot of excitement for Black Panther 2, or were you just kind of like, once Chadwick Boseman died, you were a little tentative about this one?
Well, I've said before, and I have to constantly reiterate, I don't get hyped for fucking anything. Nothing. But, having said that, to answer your question, it definitely was not hype, it was the tentative, oh no. This more
Ronan,
like, what are...
Ronan, come over here.
Oh, shit. It was that, what are they going to do with this movie kind of logic. Yeah, so... it was definitely, I don't know if they're going to be able to rework this, because, the main character dying That's like if the lead singer of a band dies. Like you can either recast the lead singer, which usually doesn't work, AC/DC being like a rare exception, or you can just reform a whole new band with a different sound, which is what a lot of them do if the lead singer dies, usually of drugs. So movies,
Come
I
to me,
think,
friends.
probably.
Come to me real quick.
Yes, yes. Oh, you got a chug splash.
Yes,
Oh,
yes.
I'm full.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
So,
Slash.
So,
Going to the dumpster to get away
okay,
from it.
Steve, how excited were you to see this sequel?
I was not excited. I was curious, and that's because I am always on team recast when something tragic like this happens. Like I don't want my movies to be written around real life. I want them to be separate things. So I would have preferred a new T'Challa. Same thing with like Episode 9, whatever the shit they did with Carrie Fisher. I would have just preferred a new Princess Leia. So I went into this curious about how they were going to do it, but I had a feeling that no matter what they did, I was going to come away thinking this would have been better if they had just carried on T'Challa's story anyway, and I don't think the movie really changed my mind about that.
Okay,
Yep.
I think another interesting thing to discuss before we get into the movie itself is where is our general level of, well, excitement might be the bad word, because I think none of us are really excited about new Marvel stuff unless it's a specific character that we really like or something like that.
Yeah.
But just in terms of Marvel, people are talking about the Marvel fatigue, right? There's so much, all the TV shows, all the movies. Where are you guys with Marvel fatigue? Or do you feel like all of the sheer amount of Marvel stuff that's coming out is sort of harming the franchise in a way where you're just kind of like, okay, another one? Or are you guys still at least a little interested, if not excited, to see the new stuff coming out?
I'm 100% in fatigue land. I feel like the cinematic universe is getting in the same boat that the comics are in, where if I want to keep up on absolutely everything going into Marvel, it's hundreds of dollars across dozens of titles on of comics, and I feel like the MCU is getting in the same way. For me personally, Endgame was the end of my super hype. From Iron Man until Endgame, every Marvel movie, with the exception of Ant-Man, just because I didn't get the time, like I went to see it, if not opening day, then opening weekend in the theaters. It was an event. I planned a day around it. Since Endgame, I have been much pickier about what Marvel stuff that I consume.
yeah, I've throughout several episodes of Two Mats, One Steve, and IOU, I have to say that I think I was the originator on this particular channel of this is too fucking much. They are spreading this shit out way too fucking far. It's too much to keep my eyes on. It's when it becomes a fucking job to keep track of this franchise, property and everything, then I lose interest in it. Like that was the dangerous thing that Star Wars is doing. Marvel is doing it, but to a much bigger extent. And yeah, they need to tone this shit back significantly.
Okay, that's fair. So Ronan, why don't you give the high-level plot synopsis? Like, what is Black Panther: Wakanda Forever all about? What's the story?
Well, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever opens up with Black Panther basically dying of some unspecified disease. He got sick, didn't tell anybody about it until the last moment, and by that point nobody could save him, not even his top tier brilliant genius sister. So he dies, and in very standard generic loss grieving kind of formula, people can't deal with that loss until the end of the movie when the plot demands it. And also, Namor the Submariner, although he's just called Namor. Well, actually, no. What is his actual name? Like
He calls himself Namor, but everyone else calls him Namor.
Yeah, because he's like, that was the name.
But he has
gave
an
myself.
actual other name that's
Yeah.
Ku Latan, something like that.
Khan or something like that. It's like a Mayan
I'm never
name,
going to pronounce it correctly.
Yeah, the god who flies or something like that. Yeah, but it's so he just kind of shows up, And also, Rory Williams is like a MacGuffin for a little bit before the movie forgets about her. Yeah, then people forgive each other. Then people forgive themselves, and that's the end of the movie.
Yeah. Okay.
I mean, it's
Rhoda.
basically it. Yeah.
Am I wrong, Steve? Am I wrong?
I mean, you jumped over a hell of a lot there. That was slightly more words than saying stuff happened in the movie and then the resolution happened and then the credits rolled.
Well, Steve, you're the master of plot synopses. So what did Ronan miss?
Basically everything. Everyone's motivations or rationale for doing what they do. After the death of Black Panther, what we see, what kind of sets up the end is Shuri is trying to cure whatever illness Black Panther has, and
guys,
she tries.
just FYI, right over here, right behind this rock.
Yeah.
Oh, I see him.
Okay. Sorry, go ahead.
Yep.
Trying to take a shot, but I'm not going to. Shuri is trying to recreate the heart-shaped herb to cure him because if you remember at the end of Black Panther 1, Killmonger just... Oh, he's coming towards us. He's coming towards us.
Hold on. Man, he wasn't on great yet.
On the bridge.
Oh, shit,
On the bridge.
no
more.
friends
There's
are
more.
here. Continue, Steve.
She's trying to recreate the heart-shaped herb, but she barely gets a knockoff version ready, but ultimately Chadwick Boseman, T'Challa, dies before she can get to it. It cuts to a year later. Everyone has basically moved on except for Shuri. Meanwhile, her mother, the Queen, has kind of reinstituted the very super isolationist nature of Wakanda. There were like trade deals where apparently Wakanda had agreed to share the wealth regarding vibranium, and she just said, fuck that, we're not about that noise. And so the rest of the world is very upset with her to the point where some countries, like I believe it was France in this movie, had started trying to kind of hit Wakanda, I don't know, stores of vibranium, but of course, Wakanda's awesome, so they're not successful. So she says, hey, rest of the world, one, don't fuck with us. Two, good luck finding more vibranium because we have all of it. It turns out they do not have all of it. Riri Williams, you find out, created a machine that can detect vibranium, and it detects it in the middle of the ocean. And so people the Americans try to go and recover it, but it turns out that is where the Submariner's people live. And so the Submariner, this is the big part that Ronan missed, the Submariner goes to Wakanda and says, Queen and Shuri, you are going to find the scientist that built this vibranium machine, and you are going to deliver that scientist to us so that we can kill them and make people stop trying to... Yep. There's people around.
That guy landed right by us.
Don't make any noise. All right.
I said the Submariner was there. I meant
you did not explain why he was there or what his purpose was or what he asked of the Wakandans.
That doesn't matter.
You're right, of course.
Generic bad guy. That's what he is.
Well, he's not a bad guy initially. He's trying to just sort of work with Wakanda initially.
Yeah, what he's doing makes sense if that's just kind of the ways of his people. But he says
this guy's coming right at us.
Queen and Shuri deliver the scientist to us so that we can make sure this doesn't happen again, or Wakanda will be our enemy and don't fuck with us. So, the good guys of the movie, let me repeat, the good guys of the movie set out to illegally immigrate to the U.S. and kidnap an innocent person to deliver said person to death by Submariner.
Yes. That's basically what happens.
Wakanda doesn't come out looking very good in this movie.
Yeah, they really don't. They're kind of shitty people throughout most of this film. Anyways, Shuri and I don't remember the girl's name, the main warrior, the leader of the warriors of Wakanda. the two of them are fully on board with kidnapping this person and delivering them to their death until they find out that it's a teenager, Riri Williams, who is, the one that created this machine. Presumably, if the scientist had been like a 40-year-old dude, that it's been like, hey, sorry, you got to die. But they try to kidnap. They try to kidnap Riri Williams. They get attacked by the Submariner's people. And Riri Williams and Shuri get kidnapped, taken to the the land, or what's the name of the Submariner's city? I don't recall it.
It's totally not Atlantis.
Talocan.
Oh, yeah, not Atlantis. We're just going to call it that. So they're taken to. I thought someone was attacking us. They're taken to not Atlantis, where Namor and Shuri kind of bond, but ultimately they can't reconcile their differences. Shuri and Riri Williams gets rescued. Namor attacks Wakanda to send a message. The Queen dies. Shuri gets the idea from the underwater vibranium-fed plant that helps her recreate the herb. So after the Wakanda attack, which Namor kind of stupidly gives them a week to prepare, and so of course they prepared for a fight. But after the attack on Wakanda, Shuri finally recreates. She makes a synthetic version of the heart-shaped herb. She becomes Black Panther, and then she takes a giant fucking Wakandan warship, which makes total sense for this landlocked place to have, out into the middle of the ocean to catch Namor. Their plan is that Riri Williams figures out that Namor, to keep his power, periodically has to go back in the water, and so they catch Namor by putting him into a Wakanda, I don't know,
basically
jet.
A sun lamp. But it's basically a tanning booth is what
they lock him in a jet and turn on heat lamps, and that is enough to weaken Namor.
Dumb. Super dumb.
Weakens him enough to get him onto dry land away from water, where Shuri and Namor have a final fight. Of course, Shuri wins because, of course. But when it's an important-ish part of the movie is when you take the heart-shaped herb, you have a vision of your ancestors. Well, Shuri has a vision of Killmonger, and she doesn't want to tell anyone, but Killmonger, the ghost of Killmonger, is trying to tell her, be like me, be a conqueror. When you get your chance to kill Namor, you fucking do it. But of course, Shuri shows mercy, makes peace with Namor, and the battle ends. Shuri finally makes peace with the death of T'Challa. She goes to meet T'Challa's wife, fiance, girlfriend. I don't know what their relationship was, but this person reveals that she and T'Challa had a secret son that she has been raising in secret, and he is the new Prince T'Challa. Meanwhile, Namor is back at Not Atlantis, getting shit from one of his people. Talocan, Not Atlantis is a funnier name. So Namor and the Not Atlanteans are...
There's somebody landing at our fucking base.
Yeah, I see it. Anyways, one of the Not Atlanteans is giving Namor shit. Namor says, this is fine. When
it's all part of the plan.
Yeah, it's all part of the plan, because when the rest of the world attacks Wakanda, Wakanda's going to need help, and they're going to come to us. I'm dying. All right, we're good. False alarm. I was talking, and that was not a good thing.
Yeah, I only had a sniper rifle, so I was trying to land some sick no-scope kill on her, and I failed.
Anyways, Namor is not at all worried about his defeat, because he tells the Not Atlantean that now Wakanda will be sympathetic to us, and when they eventually get attacked and the rest of the surface world tries to steal their vibranium, they're going to turn to us for help. Yeah, I don't know what else you want to know. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, that's all that needs to be said, I think. So, Ronan, what'd you think overall?
It's okay. It's fine, but it's got a lot of like problems with it. Not problems that tank the movie, but problems that keep it from being what it needs to be. Because like everything about this, I want to like iterate too. When like I saw this, the theater wasn't super packed, but you know it was the second weekend of its release. Yeah, the people who were there, absolute everything that we would kind of like roll our eyes over, or you know, did not work for us, absolutely worked with this audience. Like the people in the theater fucking loved this movie. The people next to me cried like 3 fucking times.
Yeah.
So like like for us, like yeah, this was a pretty big swing and a miss into just kind of territory. But like this was for the people who saw this, like at least in this theater, this was a big fucking win.
Yeah, I wasn't super into it. I mean, again, it was a perfectly fine movie, but I guess I can see why other people would like it. It pulls on your heartstrings. Maybe I kind of compare this to Ghostbusters Afterlife, which wasn't a good movie, but it hit me in the feelings enough for me to mostly like it.
Matt, are you taking fire?
Yeah, I'm taking fire.
No.
Yeah, I'm getting fired. I'm getting fired on.
I didn't realize you guys left the. I didn't realize you guys left the beach house, so I just killed the guy who was. Oh shit! There's another one.
We gotta pay more attention to this game.
We can pay attention to it on Sunday.
I cut you off.
Yeah. Like my issues with this movie, like they come from a couple of different spots. One, everything about the like a lot of the build up in the marketing, the opening of like that the Marvel credit the Marvel studio logo was redone to be just T'Challa, Chadwick Boseman. It was done just to be him, because this is supposed to be like a big send-off tribute movie to him, and yet even though he's his death is supposed to be a super important thing, it doesn't really feel that he doesn't feel that important to the story. Like, nothing really does, because Rui Williams is thrown in here. I called her a MacGuffin. That's basically all she is. I mean, her suit and everything is very clearly inspired by Iron Man. So it's like, okay, she clearly liked Iron Man. But yet no one ever says that. There is no mention of Tony Stark, which there shouldn't be, because again, this is the Black Panther movie. But but that doesn't seem to work out either. Submariner, I know Matt's a fan of the Submariner. He's probably, as far as comic characters go, in Marvel Pantheon, I don't know, maybe it's some kind of a legal thing, or just because they don't know how to implement him in other media, but he appears in, I know very little about Namor, because he appears in very, very, very little outside media. If you're not a comic fan, you really don't know that much about the Submariner. So
he was the original. He in the comics, he's considered the original mutant.
I'm aware of that. Yes, how he is the first mutant. Well, not right. Technically, that's Apocalypse, but you understand what I mean. He's the first Marvel mutant.
And they mentioned that he says he's a mutant in this. They actually use the word mutant.
Yeah. I'm aware of that significance, but as far as his character, I can't. I guess that helps me in a certain extent, because I have no point of reference for if this is a good representation of the Submariner. But given how he's also a pretty poor villain, and this is a pretty poor introduction into their version of Atlantis, that because it took Marvel so long to put this character in, now they can't call it Atlantis because they don't want to get it confused with Aquaman. That has to be the only reason. It's because DC made Aquaman.
I actually liked the Mayan imagery and making it different from Atlantis. I thought it was cool, just in terms of the visual imagery of it. My problem with Namor, and Namor is like S tier in Marvel. I mean, he was one of the Illuminati. Marvel puts that much respect on him that he's hanging out with Professor X and all them and making decisions on whether to send Hulk into space or not. And he was the lone guy to say not do it. That's why Hulk didn't try to kill him when he came back. But Namor, I always thought Namor was cool because he's not a hero so much as he's just like an anti-hero, right? He's just like, stay the fuck out of the ocean and leave me alone. And if you don't, I'm gonna wreck your ass. My problem with his character in this was he destroys Wakanda ostensibly, which is what he does in the comics. He fucking just destroys Wakanda because they can't stop water. But then he's like, I'll be back in a week. You think about it, Shuri. You think about this. I'm like, Namor would not do that. Namor would just finish the fucking job. But they have to sort of water him down, so no pun intended. They have to make him, he's susceptible to heat, right? So Shuri can kill him and everything. And I felt that none of the quote-unquote good guys in this, whether it's Shuri or Riri Williams, who's playing Ironheart, nobody lost, right? It wasn't like they got into a battle, like Namor got into a battle, like a one-on-one battle with anyone, and Shuri lost to him. It was just Namor does some shit, and Shuri's just immediately, after she gets over the grieving process, able to, not only beat his ass, but save the day. And the same with Riri Williams. It's like no one
gets better
in this.
No one improves. They just suddenly, the plot demands that now they win.
Yeah, and I wasn't a huge fan of the way that the actor portrayed Namor. I think he's a fine actor, but he didn't have like the gravitas or like that I expected, like the threat level that somebody like Namor should have, and how he's portrayed in the comic books. Again, I don't really blame actors for their performances, because that's, the director is the one telling them this is the performance I want. But I would have liked Ryan Coogler to show Namor as a little bit more like, okay, this guy is really somebody to be feared. And instead, they introduced him in kind of a weak way, and then he's immediately defeated pretty easily at the end. I'm just like, well, is this guy ever... And no one's ever going to think of this guy as like a high-tier, threat in the MCU. So my other problems with the film is I thought it was just so predictable. Like every beat of this movie was predictable. And it's like, okay, we all knew Shuri was going to become Black Panther from the very beginning. We just knew it. They weren't going to make anybody else Black Panther. So it's just kind of like this really by the numbers sort of thing. Like I would have rather had like M'Baku or who's the character that leads the Dora Milaje? I forget her name. The one that gets her title taken away from her. But somebody like that, like give me somebody out of left field.
It doesn't help that Shuri,
the Queen should have been Black Panther.
That would have been pretty awesome.
She was not taking shit from anyone.
That would have been pretty awesome.
I thought the Queen was going to make a surprise heel turn. That was because I thought that's where it was about to go. Because at a certain point, it shows her going for like the cog shell to signal Namor, and I thought she was going to make some kind of a surprise heel turn. But no, that doesn't happen. Instead, she drowns.
Yeah, and I didn't like the fact that, just talking about Chadwick Boseman's, funeral scene in there, I just kind of was like, why are there no Avengers here? Like, why are there no other superheroes at the Black Panther's funeral?
In fairness, I have a somewhat, it may not be the best, but I do have an explanation for that.
Okay.
In that, really there were only, out of the whole pantheon of superheroes that now exist, it's like the ones that had the strong connection to him, they should have been like Old Man Steve Rogers. He should have been there. The Winter Soldier.
Bucky?
Yeah, like I was about to say, Winter Soldier, because he fucking stayed there for a couple years.
He
they
lived
granted him asylum. Yeah, he definitely should have been there. Maybe the original Avengers, it would have been the Avengers who were on the run during the Civil War arc, who probably would have had some kind of connection to them, that would have, kind of allowed, because it would have allowed more than the people, to have accepted them in. So that's it's not the best excuse in the world, but there's no, Spider-Man wouldn't have been there. They don't know who the fuck Spider-Man is.
I was thinking, I would have preferred them to be there, obviously, but I was thinking, once the Queen had gone back to their super isolationist ways, they could have easily said they were denied entry.
I just wish they would have had some excuse
Yeah.
or some
Yeah.
reasoning
I
as to
agree.
why. I mean,
I
Tony
agree with you.
Stark dies, and Chadwick Boseman's there, right? Like, he's at
Yeah.
Tony Stark's funeral, and all the superheroes are at the funeral. And I think when you sort of follow Marvel, you kind of expect. I mean, all these movies are interconnected. All these characters have relationships with one another. It was just weird. It was weird
Yeah.
that nobody was there.
It was something that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense in a connected universe with, what, 4 different superhero team-ups at this point?
Yeah.
Like, surely Black Panther had some friends on the Avengers that would have been interested.
Yeah, I agree that the whole of the Earthbound Avengers. It doesn't make sense for them to have all been there, but at the very least, like, Bucky should have been there. It's like, okay, you can't get old man Steve Rogers there. Okay, whatever.
How
Black
awesome
Widow
would that
was
have
dead.
been, though? Just
Yeah,
a quick
like
shot of
Maybe,
old
I mean,
man
do you
Steve
think
Rogers.
do you think maybe they didn't do that because then people would be talking about the cameo more
Takes
than
the focus
scene?
away? That's probably the
Yeah.
reason. Yeah.
Well, I think it's probably because, like, if they would have only had, well, also that, there it goes again, is that, like, it is a problem with any kind of superhero universe, not just Marvel movies, but even in the comics. It's like, okay, once you have established that all these people are here and they're friends, whenever one of them gets in trouble, it's like, well, where are all his friends at? So it's like, if you introduce Bucky at the beginning of the movie, even if it's only for, a 5-second cameo of him sitting there, wearing, like, their white robes or whatever it is that they're wearing.
Beach. On the beach.
If you establish that he is there, then that puts them in trouble later on. Why isn't he helping them? When Wakanda is under attack.
Did one of you throw explosives over there?
That
No.
was me, buddy. I have an explosive
Okay.
sniper rifle.
There's two T-1000s coming this direction. Watch out.
Yeah, I think that's a money thing, in that you don't want to pay, like any of these actors, like, they probably have it written in their contract where, like, we get X amount for an appearance, and also.
Yeah, I don't
And
think that was
also-
money.
Well, and also it does create the story issue of, you have introduced the Winter Soldier into the story arc. Why is he not here when the Atlanteans or the whatever come to attack? That is a comic book. That is a superhero comic book movie.
They could have explained that by just saying that coming in.
What?
There's someone in the bush with us.
Wow, he got me.
There another
Get
one?
in the bush, Ronan. Get in the
Ronan.
bush. We'll pick you
I'm
up.
crawling back into the bush.
I hear someone. I hear someone.
Shit, he's right behind you, Matt.
He's in here.
Oh god, there's 2!
Reloading.
Got him.
God damn it.
Well, I think he just took out the whole team, so it should be safe.
We
to pick
did.
him up.
No, I don't think that was money. I feel like at this point Disney has more money than the fucking church. I think it was just they didn't want to take focus away, and I can accept that.
Yeah,
I mean,
that makes sense. I mean, I can buy that.
If you need an explanation, Ronan, take this.
Yeah, I'm grabbing a shield pot.
Okay.
What is it?
If you need an explanation.
Oh, shit,
someone's shooting at us. They know we're here. From west.
Oh, I see him.
I think the explanation would be
He's coming.
The Queen had reintroduced isolationist principles back to Wakanda. Oh, like Ronan said, this movie definitely has an audience.
Yes.
Yeah, so people sitting next to me who were like, they weren't like the obnoxious type that you were mentioning, but like, they were crying at the theater sequence, like they were crying at the funeral sequence. They teared up and cried when the Queen of Wakanda was being the strong person in front of the in front of the UN, telling the French to go fuck themselves.
Angela Bassett's great in this movie.
Yeah.
She should have been the Black Panther.
I agree. That would have been awesome.
It's like, because that's another thing that a big issue I don't know why the decision was made. We have to make Shuri the Black Panther. It's like, okay, you don't want to make M'Baka the Black Panther. Okay, that's fine. I get it. But you're gonna make Shuri the Black Panther because like she's just incredibly. She was not very likable in the first movie. She's okay. Has like the sidekicks, the guy in the chair, Ned, Spider-Man. That's Shuri's role. And now you're going to make Shuri the main kid. Like, no, she's just not that fucking good.
My thing about Shuri is, I don't know, and I haven't watched the original Black Panther in a long time. I'd have to go back and rewatch it. But my feeling with Shuri was like, I don't know if I feel like she earned the mantle of Black Panther with the actions in both movies. I feel like
she didn't. It's
there were
given to
way
her because
better options, like the head of the Dora Milaje, for example, and I just was like, I don't know. It felt so forced and so obvious. Like, okay, we're just obviously going to do this. I mean, did anybody truly think that they weren't going to make? They were trying to hide that in the marketing, right? Who's going to be the new Black Panther? Everyone knew.
Well, when the new Black Panther comes out looking like a fucking toothpick, you know who it is, because Shuri's the only one with that physique. Everyone else has muscle tone to them, like everyone else, except for her. And that's not me like critiquing like that aspect of it. That just made it very obvious who it was.
I didn't mind Shuri becoming Black Panther. I mean, it was so obvious that I don't know like what I even would have thought if they had gone a different direction. I think my only issue with it is at the beginning of the movie, she's incredibly like dismissive of the mantle. Like they're talking about the need for the Black Panther, and she's like, "Those are the old ways. Technology is the future." And then I was expecting there to be some sort of moment where she realizes, like, okay, no, I was wrong. Like, we actually, Wakanda has to have a Black Panther because X, Y, Z. That never happens. It's just, she gets an idea to recreate the herb, and she's just like, oh, Black Panther time. Like, there's never a moment where
yeah, he's shooting me. I'm down.
Okay,
I don't even really think it's that. It's like she decides to do it because, like, a couple of Atlanteans, I know they're not Atlanteans, but a couple of Atlanteans
Ronan, help. Help.
Okay, I'm coming. I didn't realize you guys were coming. I'm coming.
Someone went to the pirate ship with Matt. And we're having problems.
Yeah. Whoa, I'm getting shot at.
Oh, left, your left, Steve, here's the left.
Oh. Wow.
Ronan behind you. You gotta get away from that pirate ship.
Yeah, I'm coming over. Alright, Ronan, you pick me up. Anyways, like there was a moment where I expected Shuri to realize that there was a need for the Black Panther, and that doesn't happen. She gets an idea to recreate the herb, and she's just like, might as well eat it. They're dropping down on us.
It's because a couple of Atlanteans, because Namor mentions that, like, he didn't come there with his full army. It's like him and like, it's like him. Oh, fuck him down. It's him and like 10 other Atlanteans come in there and absolutely decimate Wakanda. Which I guess that's to show how powerful the Atlanteans are, but
I didn't understand. Like, there's a moment when one of the Atlanteans gets like stabbed and shit, and they think they're all dead, but then they immediately get back up. I'm like, do they have like regenerative abilities or something?
Apparently, yeah.
They didn't really explain that. I was confused.
Right, I'm going to get Matt's card, and then we're getting the hell out of here. We don't have time to fuck around anymore.
There are boats. We can get in the boats.
Anyways, yeah, I mean, Black Panther was fine. Like, it's a very... Like, you could guess the plot of this movie and be right, like, 30 seconds into it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you were joking about it a couple of weeks ago, Steve, when like we were doing one of these.
All right,
like,
Ronan, we're doing this, and then I'm throwing a launch pad.
Yeah. Matt mentioned how Matt told us to take a guess as to what we thought the plot would be. You made the assumption, it's and she's going to learn forgiveness at the end of the movie. And Matt was like, yeah, that's it.
Yeah, it's just a standard paint by the numbers thing with the added emotion of Chadwick Boseman's death.
That's
I
the
wish
part of it that
they
really
actually would have used it as like a teaching moment or something. Because what I always wanted, like after he first died and people were like, well, what are they gonna do? I was like, I hope they say that he got cancer and they couldn't, because I think that's a really powerful message for,
Oh,
because remember, a lot of
Ronan,
these Marvel
something
movies
that
are for
the-
kids, right?
The last of the team that killed Matt is coming for us. I just heard the zip line. I'm gonna reboot Matt, and then we've got to just be on the lookout.
But I would have loved for it to be, hey, you know, he actually died of cancer, and we're Wakanda, and we can make any technology, but we can't cure cancer. And that sometimes happens to superheroes. That would have been great.
I agree with that. Like to me, it kind of felt almost more disrespectful that like the movie that's supposed to be like, you know, this tender send off to a character who, while he wasn't in the, like, he didn't have like a huge amount of Marvel movies under his belt, left a big impact for the ones that he was in, and their send off to it is this incredibly generic by the numbers superhero movie that doesn't even really feel like, you know, it feels like he is an afterthought.
Yeah, I mean, but again, other people really liked it, and they got a lot out of it. So, you know, I don't know if we just went in with overly hyped expectations and what we were looking for or what, but I agree with you that it's just kind of was like, eh. So, Steve, you had a good topic to piggyback off this. We both thought it was just an okay movie, just sort of middle of the road, not bad, not great. So, does that make it a bad movie in today's day and age? That is the question.
I think it also kind of ties into it. What's worse for a movie to be? Is it worse for a movie to be bad, or is it worse for the movie to be forgettable?
Well, let's define bad first. I think that's the most important thing. It's like, okay, if we're gonna make this the conversation, we have to define what constitutes a bad movie.
My personal definition has started shifting to, do I feel that was a good use of my time? And I don't know that this was. And it feels weird to say after having just said, yeah, you know, the movies all right and whatnot. But I mean, there were much better things that I could have done with my Saturday morning. It's like the older I get, the more protective I am of my free time, and I want to make sure that I'm doing something that I really super truly enjoy. And there's a place and a time for just kind of movies. You know, you put something on late at night, you're in bed, you're just kind of trying to drift off. You have something on while you're cleaning, doing chores, whatnot. This is.
You're bored at home. You're flipping.
This is not a movie that I would have chosen to really invest in had I known ahead of time what it was going to be.
I think it's good. Ronan, what's your definition of a bad movie?
Before I get to that, I forgot a caveat that I want to mention.
Sure.
I remember talking about on an episode of IOU how the Atlanteans looking blue, like the people from Avatar.
Yes.
You know, it was like, that's kind of dumb. Remember the people I was talking about sitting next to me? We were not helped by the fact that this movie opened up with a trailer for Avatar. So, when the Atlanteans show up, the theater was kind of awry with this noisy bit of, why are the cat people from Avatar here? Like literally, I was hearing that in the theater. People were confused as to so is this movie in Avatar? So yeah, I was. I have been vindicated by me saying that they look like the Avatar people.
Now, what's your definition of a bad movie?
Yeah, my definition of a bad movie, I guess, really the best way I can formulate it is, if it makes me angry when I leave.
Okay.
The
Which
Last
is everything.
Jedi, the worst movie of all time.
I left it's not Star Wars that's my de facto answer for I walked out of that theater angry. I walked it's not like Last Jedi. It's Batman versus Superman. I walked out of that movie genuinely angry. Like, this sucked so fucking bad. This was just pretentious bullshit. It movie felt like it was smarter. There's a is that oh that's Matt.
That's me. Oh shit.
So yeah, like if it for at least for me right now, it's like if it makes me if watching it makes me angry or like makes me like if it gets too actively stupid. There's like good stupid and then there's bad stupid. You know, like
Yeah,
Invasion USA.
That's stupid.
Yeah, Invasion USA, that's good stupid. like other types
Boba
of
Fett,
stupid.
that's bad stupid.
Yeah, it's bad stupid.
That's
yeah.
very bad stupid.
Yeah, I think I kind of agree with you. Like, I think the traditional way of looking at a good, bad movie is, technical abilities and stuff. But, when I was younger, I used to think like, oh, well, this wasn't made very well. The editing was bad, or
Some guy
whatever.
drove right outside of us.
Yeah, he's right there.
Where?
He's right in front of us, Matt. It's a corn cob.
They just landed in front of our bush. That's fine.
okay.
They're moving on. They're moving on.
I'm also highly tempted to buy the John Cena skin that's in the store right now. Continue.
I can't see it.
But I think I'm leaning more to you guys, and I like your point, Steve. It's like the older you get, like I think a younger audience is going to think these movies are great because they haven't seen the amount of shit that we've seen. Like once you've seen so much, it's almost like you demand better. And you're just kind of like you said, there's so much content out there right now. Really great, excellent content. Why am I wasting my time on something that's just mediocre?
Steve, was that you?
Had a shot. I had to take it. I just had to keep them guessing.
Did you
fine,
hit
we're
the
good.
shot?
Yeah, did
I
you
did
make
hit the
it?
shot.
Okay.
Yes,
we
I hit
have a
them,
long ways to
but
run.
They had full health and shields. All right. Yep. Continue the chat. We're running. Get to this balloon, and we can glide out of it.
Zip line.
So yeah, I kind of agree with your take that it's if it's something I think is going to be forgettable, like I'm going to forget everything about the movie as soon as I leave the theater, I think that's a bad movie. And I think, unfortunately, that's what most Marvel movies have been recently, and even the TV shows. They're generically all right, but I think in this day and age, that's not good enough anymore. It's like there's so much really good stuff out there, and it's almost like we want to demand that these filmmakers do something a little bit,
Push on me.
better.
I have to add a caveat to that. This is not a new thing with Marvel. Like, the bulk of Marvel's catalog, I'd say like 80% of it, is just kind of generically entertaining. They found the formula that works. They stuck with it. They rarely deviate from it.
I don't think Matt's saying that this is an issue. I don't think Matt was saying this is a change for Marvel. I think he's saying this is a change for us. Like we're maybe not when we were younger at the beginning of the MCU. Like most of the Phase 1 MCU movies are just okay, and I think we were okay with just okay at that time. Now, like we're not. Like now, if I have an option of, seeing just an okay movie or an okay show or playing a just okay game, I would rather maybe look for for a better way to spend my time.
Yeah. I 100% agree with that.
Yeah.
The end. Thanks everyone for listening.
Let us know your thoughts in the comments or something bullshit.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good descriptor of it.
But can we call these movies bad? Like by our new sort of definition of what we go by, is it wrong for us to say Black Panther: Wakanda Forever it's an okay movie, or should we, again, just based on our own perceptions of what we believe content should be for us, should we say no, this is bad, this is a waste of time? Because I kind of feel like we might have to change the definition for ourselves. Like there's a general definition of bad that most people understand, but then for each individual, if we all agree, wow, this is a huge waste. Like I would have rather been doing anything else. There's nothing particularly egregious, that I hate about this thing, but that's almost, you know, just as bad as you mentioned, Ronan. Just kind of like
Going to a circle.
some sort of
Going to
boring
a circle.
general
Well, yeah,
thing.
it goes back to what's worse, being bad or being forgettable. Like, the Michael Bay Transformer movies are fucking terrible. Prometheus is so bad it makes me want to cut myself. But I remember things in those movies. They elicited a reaction out of me. They got an emotional response out of me. I remember Batman versus Superman. I struggle to remember things from Captain Marvel or Black Widow. Or really even the original Doctor Strange. Yeah, because like, except for the visuals, look pretty. But I can't really remember much about that. Or the first Captain America. Yeah, because like they were just, they're so kind of like, you see them, it's like, hey, yeah, that was pretty good. And then you forget about it in a week. That's a lot of Marvel. So it's like, whereas like, you know, I remember the terrible things in like the Michael Bay, like I remember the second movie where like Devastator is like, you know, I'm under the enemy scrotum. Like, you know, stupid, bad shit like that sticks with you. So it's like, but it's like, so, you know, Michael Bay got a response out of me that stuck. But yeah, it's like,
But I don't think judging a film by
that.
bad memories makes it any better, because you would still would you say this if I were to ask you, well, okay, so Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, you said, okay, I would have had better use of my time had I not seen this. Would you say the same thing about a Michael Bay Transformer movie? Even though you have memories and can remember it, would you still say to this day, well, yeah, I would have had better things to do with my time than watch this movie?
Yeah, but like my point is like, you know, it's like again, it goes back to, is it better to be forgettable, which, you know, Black Panther, I'm going to struggle to remember this in a couple of weeks, or is it a movie that's bad but still leaves an impact on you because it accomplished something in that aspect? That's more of what I'm getting at, is like what's better and what's worse.
I think that I would rather, like, if I made a movie that was bad, I'd rather it be forgotten. Yeah, I would not want to be remembered for something negative forever.
They're in the bush. They're in the bush.
And I think
Continue, Matt.
Well, I was just saying, like, if you make a terrible movie that's remembered for all the wrong reasons, you're just going to be mocked for the rest of eternity, or as long as humans are around, and you become a laughing stock. So, whereas if you make a bad movie that's forgotten, it's just one of a million other movies that's forgotten, and they're still bad, but I wouldn't want to be remembered forever as being bad. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, there are filmmakers who have made some of these bad movies, just kind of embraced it. Yeah, I made this shitbird, and kind of rode that wave of, yeah, I made this bad movie that people have a lot of fun watching.
Yep.
Like Tommy Wiseau, like, you know, The Room. He clearly failed making that movie, but now he tries to soften the blow by saying, "Oh, well, I was actually trying to make a dark comedy," which is a lie. That's not what he was trying to do.
Yeah, in his heart of hearts, he doesn't want to be remembered for this, like this.
He's making the best out of a bad situation.
Yeah, and to me, it's just, I know, that's just my personal opinion. I'd rather just be forgotten than live on in infamy for my badness. If both options are bad, I want to be the forgotten bad rather than the Michael Bay bad. But again, people to this day are still making jokes about him.
But like, also, like, you know, this is like, you know, the director of this movie, he's a quality director.
Yeah.
He's made quality work. This movie is not going to stain his legacy at all.
That is true. Ryan Coogler is an excellent filmmaker. This is just one that, you know, Ryan Johnson is an excellent filmmaker. He makes great movies, but Last Jedi has stained him for many, many people forever. Would you rather just have a forgettable Star Wars movie if you're Ryan Johnson, or the entire fandom has splintered because of you and you're blamed for so much hate? I think I'd rather just have a forgettable, like Solo. No one blames Ron Howard for how forgettable Solo was. You know, no one's bitching about, fucking Ron Howard, man. He really fucked up Solo, because no one cares. It's forgettable. It's perfectly fine and forgettable.
Okay. I had another point there.
Yeah, so that's kind of where
I was going to. Yeah, that's right. I was going to say it's like when you've been around for a while, eventually you go like if you're a director and you made a shit ton of work, eventually you're going to make, even if you made something like, let's say, E.T., Jaws, Jurassic Park, Schindler's List, eventually you're going to fuck up and make a shitty movie.
Yeah, eventually you're going to make the BFG. Remember that movie?
Yeah.
Oh, no, you don't, because no one does.
What the fuck's the BFG?
It's a Steven Spielberg movie.
What is it? Like, I've never heard of this movie.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's a kid with a giant. I was actually going to go Ready Player One.
Yeah, Ready Player One's another good one.
Yeah, it's just like, do you remember the nostalgia? Do you remember the DeLorean? Do you remember the T-Rex from this movie that came out a fucking year ago?
To be fair, that is kind of like catnip to Steven Spielberg, that kind of stuff. So I can see why Steven Spielberg would have wanted to make that movie.
I mean, it was a mistake, but yeah, I understand.
It was.
I understand your point.
Yeah.
And I agree with it.
So ultimately,
I'm still trying to figure out if you guys are like fucking with me, because I don't remember any of the movies that you just name dropped.
You don't remember Ready Player One?
Absolutely, yeah, you absolutely like. I don't think you ever. You probably never saw it, but you definitely like it. It came out. There were commercials and ads everywhere because it was purely targeted at our age range. It was cynical corporate fuckers trying to target, us, like, the millennial age group. Like, here are things from the 80s that you like. Please buy this stuff.
Ready Player One is a story about a future where there's like a video game, virtual reality video game, but it's made up entirely of like pop culture stuff. So this movie had everything in it, like Transformers, Gremlins, Ghostbusters was probably in it somewhere.
Fucking Mecha Godzilla is a main antagonist at the end of the movie.
Yeah, so it's like
Godzilla.
It's like imagine a sort of imagine Fortnite, but in the future.
That is the absolute best scenario. It's Fortnite, but with a dark, grimy paint scheme over it because it's not bright and colorful.
Yep.
Matt, you're being chased by a purple chicken. Kill it.
What does that mean?
Kill it like the rest. Kill it like the rest.
Oh, God.
Now take its delicious chicken goodness.
Matt doesn't understand that reference.
I don't. So, yeah, ladies and gentlemen, let us know what you think. Do you think that these movies should just all be bad, even though they're technically fine and they're made, well? I mean,
should we consider them bad? Like, I don't think anyone's going to say Black Panther: Wakanda Forever is terrible, but should we?
Yeah.
Should we say that this is no longer acceptable? Because Marvel has proven to us that they can make, like these kind of incredible not even like huge, like pricey, super expensive movies, but they've proven to us that they know how to make movies that tell a compelling story that are also incredibly entertaining to watch. They know how to do it.
Yep.
And this movie's not even one of those Marvel movies that's bad because it's setting something else up. That's not even it. This movie, that's probably another bad indicator of it. Age of Ultron, that's a pretty bad Marvel movie, and it's bad because part of that badness is it has to set up Civil War. So they kneecap the story to set up another movie. A classic Marvel trope of bad things that they do.
Well, could you argue that they set up Namor to set up a bigger thing later on down the road? Because they teased it. They're going to have to come back to us.
I feel like Namor was probably such a letdown. Like, he was beaten. Like, he was compared. I don't know that maybe they were exaggerating, or maybe the Wakandans were just scared. But someone offhandedly says that Namor is as strong as the Hulk, and then he got beat with a heat lamp. I feel like the way that Marvel wants us to think of Namor and the way people are actually going to think of Namor, I don't know that we're ever going to see him again.
Oh, I think we're definitely going to see him. I for sure. You're definitely going to see him in Secret Wars.
I don't know. Matt, now you have our permission to do the outro.
Thank you, everyone, for listening to another episode of Two Matts, One Steve. We'll be back next time with a discussion of the Guardians of the Galaxy Holiday Special. See you then.